Kyle, what are your two top performances from this weekend? Because we sure had a shit ton.
Yeah, so my two are Jason Tatum and Enes Kanter. I'll start with Tatum just because I thought his was a little bit more impressive. Jason Tatum was absolutely sensational against the Minnesota Timberwolves this past weekend. He dropped a career high 53 points in an overtime win against the T Wolves. I mean, it was a huge night for Tatum. Knocked down 6 3-pointers, hit 15 out of 16 free throws, and not only that, he added 10 rebounds and 4 assists to go with his performance. It's just a great game from Tatum, one of the best in his career. And I will say this just to kind of mention the point about Boston. They're going to need Tatum to really come up big here down the stretch for the last month and a half of the season, just because the Celtics have been treading water at best to hold their playoff position. Right now, they're on, I think, the 7th seed. So they're going to need Jayson to be more consistent. I'm not saying go out there and score 50 points a game every time he goes out there, but they're going to need him to play some big time minutes in the last month of the season just to improve their playoff seeding, because they have been inconsistent this year. And performances like this, though, will go a long way to putting Boston back on the right track. And then, like I mentioned, Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter had a sensational game against the Detroit Pistons this past weekend. Trailblazers did get the win in that game, but the big standout here is his 30 rebounds in this game. It's the first 30 rebound game since Dwight Howard back in 2018 when he was with the Charlotte Hornets. Not only that, he dropped 24 points to go along with those 30 rebounds. It is a fantastic game from Kanter. I know a lot of times we always focus on CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard just because they're the two standouts from the team.
Carmelo Anthony, yeah.
But Enes Kanter stepping up huge here, getting them just the all-around game that you could ask for. I mean, putting up 30 rebounds is a rare feat nowadays. I know probably back in the 60s and 70s, it was probably a lot easier to do. But when you see 30 rebounds in a game, that's a great game from whoever gets it. And I know Enes Kanter isn't regarded as a superstar or a star in any sense of the word, but he's a solid player. And it's good to see him back on Portland just because I know he enjoyed his time there in his first stint back a couple of years ago, because he was on that team when Damian Lillard hit that step back three over Paul George, and he seemed to really thrive in that system, and he's doing it once again for them. So those are my two performances of the weekend.
Gotcha. All right, so then I'm diving into my two performances from the weekend. First and foremost, my dog, this fucking Hooper, has been balling the hell out for Chicago all season long, carrying the load, shouldering the load, whatever saying you want to use. Zach LaVine scored 50 points in a loss against the Atlanta Hawks on Friday. I mean, Zach LaVine has been literally doing it all. He was 7 of 12 from the three-point line. He had 8 boards, 5 assists, shot over 50% from the field, over 50% from the three-point line. I mean, there really was not much more you could ask of him, and yet they still lost this game by a significant amount. I mean, I want to say, what the hell was this score? I literally just had it and I clicked the wrong button. The Hawks won this game 120-108. And I mean, I'm looking at this stat sheet right here, and I'm just sitting here saying, how is it that Zach LaVine is the only one doing something on this team? I mean, Nikola Vucevic had 25 and 10, so somebody else did step up. Kobe White only had 11. Marketing only had 5. You know what I mean? Thaddeus Young only had 4, and the list goes on and on and on. The Chicago Bulls literally are trying to hang on by a thread in the Eastern Conference to try to make this 8th seed or make this push to get into the postseason. And for whatever reason, Zach LaVine is giving his whole soul to this damn team because he's just been hooping. He's averaging over 27 points a game this season, was an all-star for the first time. And I mean, you just look at a player like that and you just feel for him, because it's like, bro, I dropped 50 and we still lost by almost 20 points. Like, what more help does Chicago need? They went and traded for Vucevic to go out there and get some help. Obviously, they have Kobe White and so on and so forth, and the players I just named. But it's like, when you have nights like this and only 2 players basically scored in double figures, it doesn't really bode well for a franchise going forward. I mean, granted, Atlanta's not a scrub team, but they're also not a phenomenal team defensively. So, I mean, when your superstar is going off, he's going to need some fucking help. And like I said, I just really feel bad. He's just on a losing team right now, and I think he needs to get the hell out of there, in my opinion, and go sign with somebody competitive because it just hurts because he's only been with Minnesota, who wasn't exactly competitive back then, nor are they now. And then obviously you have Zach sitting here in Chicago, who's been relatively mediocre for some time now, up until, or should I say, since Derrick Rose left a few years back.
And Jimmy
So
Butler.
I mean,
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler at the tail end of that when Derrick left. So yeah, Jimmy and D Wade were a pretty good little tandem right there for a little bit. And then my next performance is going to be I've mentioned it all year. Steph Curry. Steph went off this weekend and he scored 32 points against the Wizards on Friday, and then on Saturday he scored 38 against the Rockets. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, like this guy is doing everything he can to keep this organization afloat. And for whatever reason, the Warriors just continue to get unluckier and unluckier because they just lost their rookie James Wiseman for the year. He just tore his meniscus. Obviously, we already know the injury to Klay Thompson, and it's just not. It doesn't look like it's getting any better, man. It really doesn't. Obviously, we know Steph can shoulder the load as much as he possibly can, and he's just doing everything in his power to do it. Luckily, the Warriors came out with the win this time on top of the Rockets with a 125-109 victory, and they barely lost to the Wizards at 110-107. We know that was the game that Russell Westbrook had 3 back-to-back possessions where his teammates missed wide open layups, and it kind of would look like it was trending in the direction that Golden State would find a way to claw back and win this game. But again, Stephen Curry's just been doing this all season long. Obviously, we know he hurt his tailbone a couple of weeks back, but he came back and he's just been doing everything he can. But Golden State finds a way and continues to lose. If I'm not mistaken, I see here Golden State continues to fall further and further down the pole of the Western Conference. They are 25-28, sitting at 10th. And it does not look like it's getting any better because, like I said, Wiseman's hurt now. So you got a lot of inexperienced players coming into this game and are coming into this roster. And it doesn't seem to bode well for them in the future. And I know that Steph is legitimately carrying the load all year, but how much more can he do it and how much longer can he do it until we all know Steph's not the most durable individual either lately. He's about 32, 33 years old. So is it a matter of time before, God forbid, knock on wood for my boy Mike, another injury comes along? Maybe the tailbone has been nagging him a little bit longer, but the Warriors can't continue this type of play, especially if they want to continue to find a way to win, unless they're going to go and do what they did last year and just continue to lose and just say, fuck it, let's go get another pick. So, I mean, I'm excited to see Steph doing what he's doing after missing the entire year of last season, but it is unfortunate. Once again, both of my star-studded moments for the week or the weekend both came in some losses. So it does kind of suck. I do want to shed some light really quick before I wrap it up. Gary Trent Jr. had a phenomenal game this weekend. He had 44 points. He actually shot probably one of the greatest nights I've ever seen, or greatest games I've ever seen. He was 17 of 19 from the field, 7 of 9 from the three. And he obviously, those 2 threes are the only 2 shots he missed all night. He scored like I said, 44 in 33 minutes. He had 7 boards and 4 assists. And he did it against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, we know that he was traded midseason from Portland to Toronto, and he absolutely torched them. And, like I said, quick shout out to him because we all know the shooting performance he had in the bubble for Portland last year. He was up and coming. He started to get a little bit more burn this season with Portland, traded to Toronto. And, I mean, if I'm looking at the stat sheet here, he's been playing very, very, very well. He had 15 2 weeks ago. He had 31, 24, 16. So, he's been very consistent. Mm-hmm. And I think that he's, kind of showing out that he's going to be one of the better players in this league for a little bit, the more playing time he gets.